Welcome to Tribal Ready Learning Circle. Chamai, hello. My name is Katrina Tysinger. My elder given name is Sakharak, and I'm Yupik Eskimo from the Bristol Bay region of Alaska. I am the Tribal Funding Strategist with Learn Design Apply, and I'm so excited that you've joined us today for this Tribal Ready Broadband Grant session. A little bit about Learn Design Apply. We are a grant consulting firm, and we have an entire broadband team dedicated to working with clients on broadband grants. We have secured millions of funding for tribes and understand the significance of Indian country in promoting digital equity. In partnership with Tribal Ready, these sessions are designed to utilize values as a foundation in cultivating tools and resources specific for tribes in the broadband grant writing process, all while maintaining cultural relevance and sensitivity from a tribal perspective. We understand that many tribes are seeking out external resources to aid in this process. These sessions are intended to provide direct insight on considerations to look at as you work to build broadband infrastructure onto tribal land. Today we're going to talk about the patterns and process of a grant application. The native value of tradition involves learning by example, usually from an elder or an expert. While I'm not an elder yet, I want to share some key components of a traditional broadband grant application. For example, the cultural activity of basket weaving involves a process of intertwining grass, stems, or roots to make this unique basket stand out. In the same way, we're going to show you the essential parts of a competitive broadband grant application, surely one that will stand out. Before we get into the grant components, let's talk about the grant timeline. It is advisable to give your team plenty of time to complete the proposal. What we like to tell our clients is that in order to provide a competitive grant application, we need to have sufficient time. Depending on the grant, you want at least 8 weeks to gather all of the components and write the narratives. The funder will usually publish a webinar during this initial period to discuss the grant and provide a time for Q&A. Start with the external components first. Technical elements, which we'll get into later, letters of support, and any other information you need from external partners and resources should be delegated and started on first. Deadline. Schedule your submission date at least 2 to 3 days before the actual funder deadline. This is a best practice and will lessen stress and mistakes made when pulling information together at the last minute. Perhaps your tribe is working collaboratively with an engineering consultant to help with the network planning and design. This is an overview of possible technical components of what funders may ask for. Network diagrams of the proposed and sometimes the current network, shape files, maps, engineer certifications, along with interconnecting points of the new network are all examples of what funders may require. Engineering consultants can also help with the content for the project timeline as well as the technical narrative. I like to joke that engineers and telecom professionals have their own language. As a grant writer, I rely on their technical expertise in this area. My first grant tip is plan out your network route early on, as many of these technical components affect each other. When changes are made, it's like a domino effect which results in starting over from scratch. The financial components are a significant part of the grant application process. These vary by funder, but some typical requirements we've seen are financial statements, pro forma, and capital investment schedule templates. Budget forms vary, but many funders require the standard federal SF 424 form. The budget narrative usually needs to include a detailed explanation of each expense. Include your partners in the budget planning process to help make the budget as accurate as possible. Another grant tip: make sure to check that your numbers match with what's in your narrative and that all the numbers add up correctly. It seems like a simple tip, but prevents the follow-up from the funder because of inaccuracies. Also, double-check your Excel formulas for correctness. Community support for grant applications is essential. Emphasizing government or political support is encouraged, as well as professional and faith and community-based organizations who are willing to support your project in writing. Multiple letters of support can influence funding decisions. Even if the funder doesn't require a resolution from the tribe, it is recommended and demonstrates the unified effort of the tribe to support the proposed project. Sometimes funders want to see any formal agreements that support the community's effort to expand broadband. Broadband Action Team, utility company, and ISP agreements or memorandums of understanding are all examples of this. Sending out a template to request letters of support should include room to personalize content about the need or relationship. After you've read the guidelines for the specific grant you are pursuing, one of the first steps in the actual writing part is researching data to include in the level of need or needs statement. This narrative is used to state the problem, and gaining a clear understanding of your community data is essential in justifying the need. One of my favorite native proverbs comes from the Apache tribe, and it says, "It is better to have less thunder in the mouth and more lightning in the hand." Look at data as like having lightning in your hand. Look up your tribal census data. If your tribal reservation has a high poverty rate, make mention of it. Is your community in a disadvantaged area? If you're unsure, use the U.S. Department of Transportation Disadvantaged Census Map to find out. Find out if your community is unserved or underserved. Maybe it is both, but each agency defines this differently, so use the definition of the specific funder you are working with. Take a look at your local education, healthcare, and public safety needs. Tie in the need for broadband for these essential community anchors. My grant tip is to use the funder's maps and surveys in your justification. For example, if applying for a state grant and your state has a map, reference that in your narrative. Funders will also ask for documents that support your proposal, such as project workforce resumes, your org chart, and federal forms and templates. Look at the specific requirements for each. For example, funders may ask for each resume to be compressed to one page. Many times the funders will provide templates, so make sure to use those if available. These templates may be related to a variety of criteria, such as environmental, financial, technical, legal, and workforce considerations related to the project. Guyana, thank you for joining us today for this Tribal Ready Learning Circle session on broadband considerations related to the cultural value of tradition. Check out our other value-driven Tribal Ready sessions to learn more about tribal resources for expanding broadband infrastructure in Indian country.